Hello, my name is Dirk Helbing, and I'd like to explain why we need a new kind of economic system to survive. In fact, the problems of the world are complex. We haven't yet overcome the last financial, economic and spending crisis. The next one is just about to emerge. We're faced with conflict and war in many areas of the world. Some of those are related to serious climate change. And that climate change actually threatens about 1/6 of all species in the world. It's not even clear whether humans will survive, and that's probably one of the reasons why the Americans are trying to send people on Mars to build a backup system, and that includes NASA and 3 major IT companies, so this is a serious effort. In fact, our problem is the lack of sustainability. As we have built an economy on oil, the world population has exploded. It has actually increased by a factor of 5 or 10, and that has also increased CO2 emissions dramatically. So as we need to reduce CO2 emissions and oil consumption, the question is, what would be the resulting carrying capacity of the world? So this is really a matter of survival. We need to be extremely innovative to solve the problems that we're confronted with. Would big data fix our problems? Well, within just a minute, in fact, we're posting 700,000 Google queries and 500,000 Facebook posts. We're shopping, we're moving, all of that creates data traces, and it accumulates to form big data that basically reflects all our activities. So people have been asking, can we know everything? Could we maybe even build a crystal ball that allows us to see what is going on in the world in real time, in any place, or even predict what will happen in the future? Could we use all that information to rule the world in an optimal way, like a wise king? Well, in any case, all that big data allows us now to reinvent historical societies in a data-driven way. So there will be data-driven variants of fascism, Big Brother society, or Brave New World. There could be communism 2.0, Big Mother society trying to establish a benevolent dictator. And there could be feudalism 2.0 based on monopolies. And we have now to make up our mind, what world do we want to live in? And are there maybe also other data-driven societies? Before I come to this, let me discuss this magic formula that people have long believed in, that more data basically means more knowledge, and more knowledge means more power, and more power means more success. Well, I'll show you this formula doesn't always work. In fact, the more data we have, the more likely will we see spurious patterns that don't have a meaning. So look into the skies and we'll see all sorts of patterns, but most of them actually don't have a meaning or causal relevance. There's also a very nice book about spurious correlations that was published recently. And one spurious correlation is that between serial killers and chocolate consumption. So if that was a causal relationship, then it would be very dangerous to live in Switzerland, I can tell you. But fortunately, this doesn't have any meaning. On the other hand, in many cases, we're using big data to classify, to distinguish good from bad risk, for example, terrorists from normal people. Unfortunately, however, there are error rates. There are errors of first kind and second kind. So there will be false alarms and alarms that don't go off. This is a problem and can create discrimination, and there are quite a few other problems too. More knowledge also doesn't necessarily mean more power. It's quite true that we know quite a lot about many people. So companies like Recorded Future claim that it's now possible to predict the behavior of people in 90% of cases. But on the other hand, interaction can change everything. So one day you get to know a person, you fall in love, and that will change your entire life. These kind of things happen all the time, and as a result, the top-down control of society does not work well enough. If cars interact with each other, phenomena such as phantom traffic jams occur, and even though everyone has modern technology and the information that seems to be needed to do the task, to drive in a circle in a smooth way, everyone fails. They end up in a traffic jam that nobody intended. And this is a result of systemic instability. These kinds of problems occur in many other complex dynamical systems. For example, we see tragedies of the commons, such as overfishing or exploitation of resources or environmental pollution. Even though cooperation would be desirable, it turns out to be unstable, as the free traffic flow turned out to be unstable before. And that's why cooperation erodes and gives rise to a tragedy of the commons. We also see unstable supply chains, and we see that even on a worldwide scale. Booms and recessions are illustrating that well. Crime is also a result of unstable social dynamics, as are crowd disasters. Even though nobody wants to kill anyone else, people die in these kind of circumstances because the situation gets out of control. And a similar thing applies to conflicts and revolutions and war. So, why are these situations getting out of control? Well, basically because of cascading effects. Small local perturbations can mess up the entire system. And this is actually happening in reality, as we've seen in the financial crisis. After the bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers, it turned out that hundreds of banks went bankrupt, and it caused losses of hundreds of billions of dollars. For such reasons, also more power does not necessarily mean more success. And we've seen that in the aftermath of September 11, where the wars on Afghanistan and Iraq didn't actually end as expected. Rather, tension spread to other countries, and now we have really a serious problem in Syria and in other countries. Terrorist threats have spread all over the world, and we have a massive refugee crisis. So, would superintelligence solve our problems? Well, in fact, processing power of computers is increasing exponentially. It's doubling every 18 months. And so experts believe that within a few years or a few decades, machine intelligence will surpass human intelligence. And we already have computers that are better at playing chess.
But they haven't taken over the world.
Better workers, they're better drivers. They may be better doctors, maybe better in answering questions, as IBM Watson has shown. And so the question is, after the automation of production and after the invention of self-driving cars, will the automation of society be next? And in fact, people are now proposing IBM Watson to run for president. And Google wants to reprogram the state. So, would that be feasible? So, could society be run like a giant machine? Well, if you wanted to do this, then we would need to know what are all the parts of this machine, how are they interacting with each other, and how can we manipulate them? And in fact, there are attempts to do such things. With deep learning algorithms, computers are trying to learn what we do, why we do it, and how we can be manipulated. And in fact, with personalized information, it's possible to steer our attention and to guide our decision making and to manipulate our behavior. So are we just puppets that are remotely controlled? Well, if we look at pictures like these, one could actually think so. But this big nudging actually doesn't work as well as some people might think. It's not good enough to really improve our health and the environmental conditions and many other problems. So basically, the next thing that comes up is the citizen score. And there people basically get plus and minus points for everything they do and what their friends do. And that will determine the kind of jobs they can get and the kind of countries they can travel to. So the idea is basically that a super intelligent computer would tell everyone exactly what to do and when to do it. Would this turn our society and our world into paradise? Well, I don't think so. There's no evidence for this. In fact, within this top 10 list of most livable cities in the world, there's none of these leading IT nations. And that has a reason, because in order to create a livable city, it's really important to create opportunities for everyone. Big nudging and citizen scores don't do everything. They can't create functioning families, friendship, solidarity, culture, security, peace, or financial stability. It's not well suited to boost innovation and jobs for all. In fact, we are running into trouble because of automation, which will take away about 50% of today's jobs. We can see that already in a number of countries where more than 50% of young people are unemployed, such as in Greece and in Spain. And that is actually threatening peace in Europe and in other countries of the world too. But this is not only bad for employees, it's also bad for companies. About 40% of today's top 500 companies will be gone in 10 years. And we are in a digital struggle for survival. In fact, if we look into a history book, we'll understand that we are now seeing a transition to another kind of society. But we've seen such things before. So there has been a transition from an agricultural society to an industrial society, and from there to a service society. What we now see is basically a transition to a digital society. Now, unfortunately, these transitions have always come along with financial and economic crises, but also with revolutions and wars. And of course, we cannot afford this. We need to be much smarter than in the past, and that really means that we need to do everything, that we wouldn't run into such a scenario. Unfortunately, a perfect storm seems to be brewing. We have really tried everything to restart the economic engine in the world. We've pumped trillions into the economies in the United States, in Europe, in Japan, in other places, but it seems like globalization is reaching its limits. And so a new paradigm is needed, because otherwise our system will collapse. Now, what are our options, given that inequality has now reached a level that affects consumption and economic growth, as even OECD and the World Economic Forum admits? And this is bad not only for people, but also for companies and societies, and even for the rich. What might happen? Well, as I said, global war might be the result, eliminating mass unemployment. Revolution would be another option, leading to redistribution, but it's probably also not a good idea. Now, people are now discussing about basic income for everyone. That might actually do the trick. But maybe there is an even better solution, which is the bottom-up generation of money and a participatory digital society that will create opportunities for everyone. I believe that everyone could be doing better if we just upgraded our socioeconomic system. And this brings me to capitalism 2.0, which I believe will be a fusion between capitalism and democracy. So it will be self-organized in a bottom-up way. It will be efficient, flexible, adaptive, and resilient. It will be characterized by entrepreneurial and individual freedoms and high innovation rates. What's new, though, is that network interactions are increasingly dominating. We'll have a systemic and ecosystem thinking. Competition will be combined with cooperation, so-called co-opetition. We'll see a lot more co-creation, co-evolution, and collective intelligence. So the challenge is to turn a digital desert where there are just a few IT giants into a digital rainforest where there are a lot of IT companies that all flourish, from individuals to medium and small companies to the biggest companies that will be potentially even bigger than today, because those palm trees are much smaller than the biggest trees that we hear. So how to turn this digital desert into a digital rainforest? Well, that requires water. Yeah, so basically what we need to do is to create such an evaporation system, and I call it Finance 4.0. It's going to create money in a bottom-up way, and that will raise to the top, so everyone will benefit from this. And this can now be done, in fact, as Bitcoin has shown. Right? It's now possible to turn zeros and ones, to turn bits and bytes into real value. Just I think we need to have something smarter than this. We need to have a multi-dimensional incentive and exchange system, and we're about to build it. We're building this NervousNet platform, which is an open and participatory platform, and I'd really like to invite you to contribute to this. It's an Internet of Things platform. It can use in particular the Internet of Things sensors that are in your smartphone, about 15 of them. And so we can basically connect all those smartphones that we use to build a global measurement system. The main point, however, is that we need to build a system that we can trust. It doesn't just spy on us. And so it's really important that you can control the information. You can basically decide which of those sensors to open up and whether the data would be just used for yourself, say for a smart home application, or also shared with others. And so the proposal is to run this system as a citizen web and to use it to map, for example, the resources of the world, who uses them, and for what purpose. And in this way, actually, we can start to build this post-carbon economy, which will require much more efficient production, transport, logistics, coordination, and use. So how to get there? Well, we need to measure the external effects of interaction, so-called externalities, and give them a value or price. And then with this multi-dimensional exchange system that I mentioned, the 4.0 system, it would boost a circular economy. And basically that would mean to reduce resources, to reuse them, to recycle them, and also the system would promote sharing and coordination. So we stay with the question, how to create jobs and earn money in future? Well, as I said, about 50% of all jobs of today will probably be gone because of automation, rationalization. So we have to reinvent half of our economy, basically. And that will be the digital economy. It's basically an unlimited kind of economy, because we can reproduce information as often as we like and use it in many different ways. So there are no limitations, not a zero-sum game. If I want to have more, I don't have to take it away from others. Sharing information can even increase the value. So this new digital economy is working in an entirely different way. And it's creating amazing opportunities. At the heart of this economy, of course, will be knowledge production. There will be a lot more creative work, and that requires personalized education. So we would use this also to produce more personalized products. It would be a hyper variety economy, in fact. Many of us would run our own businesses. We would do local production, and we would be engaged in co-creation. And in fact, what is really needed to boost all this is an open and participatory information, innovation production and service ecosystem. Interoperability is really key, because interoperability will allow to combine existing products and services to build new products and services, and thereby boost exponential innovation. In the same way, do we need to build platforms to support collective intelligence, to allow us to bring our knowledge and ideas together and catalyze new ideas. And finally, we need to build digital assistants to support decisions and coordination in an increasingly diverse and complex world. So, to summarize, basically, the world that we'll see in the future is a networked, well-coordinated, distributed system of largely autonomous systems. However, if we go on as before, we will likely end in disaster characterized by loss of democracy and freedom, by mass unemployment, by financial and economic collapse, by resource shortages, serious climate change, and or global war. I don't think that superintelligence will prevent this. It's certainly a very useful tool, we should use it, but what we need is a digitally upgraded socioeconomic system. And that will be characterized by measuring externalities, by pricing them and trading them. It will be an information, innovation, production and service ecosystem. Will open up unused resources for use, will engage in transparency and interoperability, will offer pluralistic participatory opportunities, support co-creation and collective intelligence, will promote circular and sharing economy, and enable local self-organization, coordination, and co-evolution system. It's now really time to build this together, and everyone should ask, what have you been doing today to save humanity and our planet? This is now becoming more and more easy, because we can engage in fab labs, in maker spaces, in open innovation, in citizen science. We can establish our own spin-off companies, startups, whatever comes to mind. We can engage in NGOs. No matter what you do it, because we need to hurry up. We have really no time to lose. So good luck with everything. Let's stay in touch. Let's do that together.